and gentlemen. Welcome to Retro Warriors, episode 411. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by very kind and nice, normal, not that old human being, Chris Saturn.
That just feels weird. We need to go back to the other way.
Because it came up in the chat that every episode I call you an old bastard.
True, yeah.
Even though I'm older than you were now than when we started the show.
Quite a bit, yeah.
So, you know, that's what this month will be. We'll just do nice intros. Very nice intros. For
and with
Saturn.
me is resident fuckface Justin.
I do have a fuck face, though, so, you can't.
That's
That's
the best
indisputable.
feature, to be honest. We all love it. We're jealous.
Yeah.
We're upset that we don't have one.
Yeah. As far as housekeeping,
Yes, sir.
I'm still trying to figure out a combination of allergy meds that don't make me sound like I smoke 10 packs of Camels a day.
Have you tried levocetirizine?
Well, I'm sorry. You can't just make up words.
It's the allergy med that my doctor prescribed to me a couple of years ago, and it's been working great. You should try it.
I'm on cetirizine.
Yeah,
That's the one that I'm on.
Levocetirizine.
Oh, what's the difference? Does it
I
make
don't
me
fucking
levitate?
know. Yeah, it makes you levitate. I'm not a pharmacologist, so I don't actually know what the difference is, but it seems to work well for me.
Like during the spring, I have to have this concoction of allergy medicine that includes like twice daily Mucinex and Zyrtec and a neti pot and an inhaler and Flonase.
And you just wear a beekeeper suit all the time.
And I sleep with a humidifier. And if I do it all, I'm totally normal. But what happens is that's a lot of shit to keep up
That
with.
is a lot of shit.
So I'll have a day where I like miss it or whatever because I'm feeling good. And when you're feeling good, you don't think about it.
Right.
And then I get all fucking off kilter. So excuse my allergies. It's about to be blistering hot in Texas and it will kill all forms of life outdoors and it will go away. But for right now, is what it is.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to have Guy on the show again for
Yay.
the first time in like forever. He's
like a
finally
year.
back. He was going to be back last time, but we postponed or something. I don't remember what
Right,
happened.
I don't know what happened there.
And so he's going to be here. So stay tuned after the ending credits.
I think you were sick.
That's what it was. I was still sick. Stay tuned after the ending credits for our producer Guy for his what do we call it? After party? The after party?
Wow, it's
that
been
what-
long enough that you've forgotten.
I did forget.
and
I
then
wanted
we're gonna
to call
start
it.
and you'll be like, and our producer's here. I don't remember his name. Some guy.
Yeah, it's close enough. My week.
Uh-huh.
Tears of the Kingdom came out,
Yes.
and I was not stoked, and I wasn't going to get it. And I was like, it's bullshit that they're charging $70 for a game that reuses virtually the exact same engine in huge swaths of the overworld.
And then I let
I'm
you have
upset
the
at
copy
that.
that I bought for $60.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, I'll sell it to you for... Because you found the special edition, and you're like, well, I want that one more than I want the regular.
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, I paid regular MSRP, $59.99 for this game. Do you want it? And I was like, well, yes. For regular MSRP, I'm less upset.
Yeah.
And I had been playing it on my Steam Deck, and it seemed fun. And I really wasn't planning to spend much time with it.
Instead.
And I don't want to spoil any of the games. I know the game is still fresh for a lot of people, and I've noticed with this game in particular, a very I know you don't play the Souls games,
I do
but
not.
whenever a new Dark Souls or Souls-like comes out, it's kind of the thing in the community that nobody really talks about the details of the game because so much of the game is based on natural discovery of things. And Tears of the Kingdom seems to have this same kind of vibe where people are very, very weird about spoiling stuff, like discovery-based things. Because being a big, wide-open game, they don't hand you everything up front. You get it piecemeal, kind of like Breath of the Wild did it. But there is... I played the first, 6-7 hours, and I was like, this is fun, but it really just feels like it could have been... like a premium priced expansion to Breath of the Wild. I don't understand why they think this is worth $70 more. And then I discovered a thing, which I'm not going to spoil for anybody, and I was like, oh, there's the $70. There's the whole this is the thing that justifies the whole rest of the game.
Is it the sky area?
No.
Okay.
And I was genuinely shocked. I was kind of blown away that they, as far as I saw, they did not advertise this thing
Oh.
at all. And so it was a completely natural discovery. Now, I wasn't really following the hype for the game anyway, because again, I wasn't planning on getting it. But then I discovered this thing. It's my favorite part of the game. It justifies the actual sequel, and I'm really shocked that they didn't have it all over the marketing, because this is the sequel, not the Sky shit. The Sky shit's cool, but it's like, whatever.
The only things I remember seeing advertised, which again I also wasn't super following it.
But it's hard not to see. But it's Zelda.
The Sky thing and the putting shit together thing, the Super Hand. Those are the only things that I saw advertised at all.
And again, both of those are cool, but there's a big other part of the game that I was like, oh, this is what I'm here for. Sign me the fuck up.
Nice.
And so I've put like a bunch of hours into it. And they do. My only complaint is that the way the game is structured, they really want you jumping between activities, between this thing, the Sky thing, the regular overworld, the regular storyline, side quests. They want you kind of going back and forth.
Right.
And I just want to do the one thing. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do any of that. I'm going to do this thing.
Right.
But it's like, if you go do the other shit kind of evenly, keep an even keel of going back and forth, you'll sort of unlock stuff that synergizes with the other things, right? All that to say, I'm having a really good time with it. Yeah. Until that big discovery, I was not having that same sense of kind of wonder and discovery that I got from Breath of the Wild, and I was kind of missing that. I was like, mechanically this is really cool, but I'm missing that sense of like, oh wow, this is is cool, this is expansive, this is exciting. And then I got to that part and I was like, oh yeah, there it is. They just hid it away a little bit.
Nice.
And you hit it doing the main story, but of course, the second I got out of the tutorial, I was like, okay, off to run around in the hills for like 9 hours and do whatever I want.
Right.
And so if I just kind of followed the main story, it would have beelined me right into that.
Nice.
But of course I did not. I instantly was like, stop speaking to me, NPCs. I want to go surf on my shield and stab moblins and run around and that's what I'm after.
Do Zelda-y stuff.
Yeah, go do Zelda-y things. Yeah. I'm curious to see how you find it, because based on your complaints from Breath of the Wild, I feel like you'll like this one less.
That's my concern. I have been concerned about that since it was announced.
Because this one feels much more like, I don't know how to phrase it. Like it demands a little more creative energy from the player. It wants you to be a little more creative with the tools it gives you. Like, you could be creative in Breath of the Wild, but it also just gave you stuff. It was like, here's a sword, you attack things with it. This one's like, here's a stick, make it into a weapon. And you're like, okay.
I did hear that it has something closer to traditional Zelda dungeons in it, though.
I would, so far in my experience, because God knows what else I'm going to discover and be like, they didn't advertise this either. I have no idea. At this point, all bets are off, because I can't believe they didn't advertise this one thing. I've experienced things that, when coming from the viewpoint of Breath of the Wild, feel a little closer to traditional dungeons, but not. I've yet to experience anything that I would say is like a traditional Zelda dungeon.
That's
unless you just mean sometimes things are locked and there's buttons and stuff. Like, yeah, that's a thing. There are puzzles, certainly, and it could just be the order of tasks that I'm going through. But so I can't answer that, unfortunately. So far in my experience, nothing I would really be like, yeah, this is just like a regular Zelda dungeon.
Right.
There's stuff where I'm like, it feels a little closer. Like, the shrines feel a little more dungeony, but they're still very much like, hey, solve this one specific puzzle using this one specific method.
Still very Breath of the Wild, Ethan.
Yeah.
Compared.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yes. I'm very curious to see what you think about it. I feel like the game demanding a little more creative energy from you is going to turn you off.
Yeah, that is a concern that I have.
Because I feel like usually that's not what you're coming into a game for.
That's not what I play games for.
But if you're willing to put that in, man, really cool stuff, really cool tools. My only real major complaint is the UI. they need to fix it, and they won't because it's Nintendo. So I'm sure they're like, we designed it this way because we're up our own asses. I have problems with a lot of the UI, like the Ultra Hand stuff. It's just kind of tedious to use. I know that later on you can unlock some stuff that makes it a little less tedious. But it's just
one complaint is there's like every button opens a menu.
Yeah, everything opens a menu. There's more menus than there were before. There's more pop-up menus than there were before. You have to interact with them a lot more than before because you're fusing items all the time now and you're gluing stuff together. It's in what I really wish was there was just a way to like zoom out and go into a build mode where I'm just building things instead of having to do it from this third person walking around controlling Link thing, you know. But even then, that's a minor complaint because it's not bad. It's just tedious, and with enough muscle memory, I'll forget about it, you know. But that's really my biggest complaint so far is that the UI is just like, oh, you want to fuse this thing you have with a stick you found? Well, pop up your pop-up item and you scroll all the way over to it. There's 10,000 things. Drop it on the ground. Hold the L button. Go to the fuse thing. Look at it and hit Y. Why? Why is it like that? That's way too many steps to do that. And that's the thing I do all the time.
Right.
Just kind of weird UI tedium that Nintendo is unfortunately kind of known for.
Yeah.
They're very good at like, oh, here's some real tedious UIs. And you're like, why didn't you streamline this? And they're like, because fuck you. That's why.
Right.
But yeah, really enjoying it. I'm still upset at the $70. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm having a pretty good time with it. I've kind of cooled off on it right now, and I'm probably gonna go back to it because I was taking a break for other stuff. But I will say, for all my problems with pricing and UI and shit like that, it has surprised me the amount of fun I've been having with it. Which I guess, like we always talk about, that's kind of Nintendo's, special power, right? They do some bullshit stuff that is tedious and annoying and marketed and priced shittily, but it's still fun stuff. Even their dumbest shit is like, it's still fun. There's still fun to be had,
I played Virtual Boy. I'm not going to say even their dumbest shit.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, there was fun to be had in Virtual. There were a couple good games. The Wario game was okay. Telerobox was okay. I mean, don't use your eyeballs.
No, that was
because
the problem.
It will hurt them.
Yeah.
It's not a good... that's one of those devices that if it came out today, there's no fucking way that, like, American regulatory bodies would let them release a thing that shoots laser beams into kids' faces.
Right.
They would be like, no, absolutely, you cannot put mirrors and laser beams in a box and have kids strap it to their fucking head.
Right.
You cannot do that. No way. Anyway, that's what I've been up to, in addition to the thing you're about to talk about. Hello, hi. What have you been doing, Saturn?
Well, I did try the beta demo of Street Fighter 6.
Yes. Oh, I tried it at your house, too.
I know.
Can I just say, I am shocked at how ugly and bland that game is. Yeah. I mean, I know it's in beta, but... And, of course, that's what everyone's going to say is, well, it's in beta.
It's releasing next week.
Yeah, beta means... It's mostly done. They're working out kinks, but big things.
This is just the multiplayer public beta. This wasn't
they're just testing servers.
Yeah, they're testing the servers. This is basically the final version of the game.
It was very ugly and bland. I'll say this: the backgrounds were really cool. Really cool backgrounds. Yeah. Lots of movement and stuff going on. I saw a turtle.
The characters have the same problem that I have with characters in the recent Resident Evil games, where their hair, they try to render every individual follicle of hair.
And it looks like they just got hair plugs that are alive.
It looks like they're hair plugs.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But no, it plays like Street Fighter. One of us had accidentally turned on easy mode to where like every button did a special move.
Not easy mode, Saturn. AI controls.
Oh, no, that was separate. That was separate
was
than
it?
the easy mode, yeah.
Was it? Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was simple controls, like makes every button do special moves.
Oh,
and there's no differentiation between punches and kicks.
You had turned it on because you couldn't figure it out.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then Andrew turned on AI mode, which was even more strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's strange. I'm not sure about it, but I'm gonna hold off until it's done anyway, which could be years from now.
Just I know it's theme of the day. I'm complaining about user interfaces, but the UI looked like shit.
It didn't look great.
It had no character. It looked
Yeah.
super, super generic.
Yeah.
And the characters looked very weird.
Right?
They looked
Oh, yeah.
weird.
Well,
now
there's
here's
only
the
the
thing.
two characters too.
Yeah, in Street Fighter, the last Street Fighter, I played a little bit of 5, but in 4 and 5, the characters looked weird, but they also had this kind of still cartoony bent to them,
Right.
where the kind of Looney Tunes physics still kind of look not totally fucking Uncanny Valley.
Right.
This one, it's like if you ever see those people are like, oh, look, we drew The Simpsons if they were realistic. And you're like, oh, no. It felt like that.
It half felt like that to me because it does use that same kind of realistic art style that the Resident Evil games are using now. But also, Ryu had such an enormous barrel chest, like bigger than any human being could have. That it kind of broke that illusion for me.
Well, and then what's the other character's name? Luke? Is that
I
it?
think so, yeah.
He had the most enormous ankles. They were as big as his thighs, and I was like, "What is wrong with his feet?" It looked like he was walking around on tree stumps.
Nice.
And he's kind of like Ryu, like modern Ryu. They kind of almost give him this sort of power lifter physique.
Right.
He's been getting bigger and more barrel shaped for years now. But Luke, I felt like they wanted him to be kind of a more slender character. Yeah. And he comes in with these enormous tree beard feet. And it was so weird looking. Maybe
he's actually a robot master from the Mega Man games.
I think AI made these fucking character models is what it feels. The feet and hands are weird.
Right.
They're real weird looking.
But yeah, aside from that, we also played good games because we played because the bunch of us were together.
The bunch of us,
Guy and Pablo were there with us.
Yes, we had a full staff hangout, and the Discord did not burn. We were like 3 hours into this hangout. We hung out for like 9 hours, and I was like, every admin for the Discord is in this room right now. Has anyone checked the Discord?
I was checking it off and on throughout the day. Not real closely, but
right.
But it's a weekend. Nobody talks there on weekends. But we did play some Saturn Bomberman. Once I got the multi-tap to work,
that was fun. I had a fun time with that. Yeah.
First we played in the wide mode where everybody was teeny tiny, and then we played in regular mode and it was better. And we played some Mario Kart and we played some Jackbox games.
Yeah, I had a good time with 2 out of 3 of those.
Yeah. Still not a fan of Mario Kart.
No, it's Jackbox. I don't love the Jackbox games. Now, we did play one at the very end that was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
That I couldn't. It was killing me.
Because is this your fucking cat picture?
Yeah. Well, so it's for people that don't know. It's the Jackbox game where you draw a T-shirt and then you all randomly write slogans. And the third task is you see all the drawings and all the slogans and you piece them together to make a dumb shirt.
You don't see all of them. You're given a random selection of them.
And so someone put together my drawing of a Pikachu with a wiener that had taken a shit and its mouth was all fucked up. Yeah. And then Pablo had written the slogan, "Is this your fuck?" Or no, what's wrong with your fucking cat?
No, I think it was, "Is this your fucking cat?"
Is this your fucking cat? I thought I was going to die. I was laughing so hard.
Let's see. I still have the image saved here. Let me pull it up and I'll confirm, but I believe it was is this your fucking cat?
Is this your and it's just like this gross, weird, ugly Pikachu. Thankfully, we were drawing on our phones and I have a stylus on I have the S22, so there's a stylus built into it. So I had an unfair advantage in the drawing of the pictures. I like Jackbox for like 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times when it gets busted out, it's hours of it. And it's usually the one trivia thing in like the haunted house, like the Saw type one.
Yeah, trivia murder party.
I don't like that game.
Yeah, I'm okay with the trivia murder party. My favorite games on Jackbox are things like Drawful and TKO and things like that are more abstract creative.
I feel like for some reason the murder trivia one seems to be like the favorite. Like it's in anytime Jackbox comes out, other stuff gets played, but that's the one that is most of the time.
See, I am okay with Trivia Murder Party. It's never been my favorite, but it is one that a lot of people request for some reason.
Yeah, it is odd. And for my money, it's the least fun.
It's okay.
I don't, for me, like The murder mystery one or murder trivia one is to Jackbox as like no items Final Destination Smash is to Smash Brothers, where it's like, I mean, I'll play it, but like, let's go do the fun shit.
Right.
Like, you know.
Yeah, I prefer traditional Uno Jack to that as far as the trivia games in there go.
Yeah, like I do like trivia, but if we're doing trivia, I just want straight trivia.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
if we're not doing trivia, I want to let's get wacky.
I do appreciate the dumb mini games that Trivia Murder Party makes you play after the trivia.
Yeah, those are more fun than the trivia part.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the part that I enjoy.
You know.
We still had a good time with it. Is what's
Oh
important.
yeah, no. Well, I mean, it was a good time. We hung out for about 9 hours, and then Saturn was like, "Y'all got to go home."
I was so tired. I was
It was
trying so hard.
8:40.
Yeah,
it was 8:40, and you were like, "Y'all have to go home. I'm gonna pass out."
Yeah, that's really late for me. I am used to getting ready for bed at like around 8 and being in bed by like 10 at the very latest. And I was trying to push it. I was pushing it as long as I could, and by that point I was like, no, I can't stay awake anymore.
Well, I brought up the point. I was like, "Hey, right now, every one of us lives near each other.
Yeah.
There's no way that is true for a very long period of time. So we should hang out. We need to do more things together while we have the opportunity
Absolutely.
available to us." And it was a really good time.
Yeah.
You know,
But,
and
it was fun, and it was nice to pull out Saturn Bomberman. It had been a long time since I've had that many Bombermans together at once.
it was fun. I never, except for Super Bomberman R Online, I'd never played Bomberman with that many people or more than one other person in the same room.
No, we did. Me, you, and Josh did Saturn Bomberman once.
Did we?
House. Yeah.
I remember I did get annoyed at Mario Kart because I brought my own Switch because I was like, they're going to want to play Mario Kart and I want to play on my own Switch on my screen. You know, it's just nicer, you know.
And that's not an option. If
You cannot
we have
do
many
that.
People. Yeah.
So it was 3 players on the TV and then I was on my Switch and I was like, yeah, you can't do that. I'm like, fucking why? Why can't I do that?
Max 2 people per console.
It doesn't. Why?
Unless
but if you're all
playing, then it's 4 people per console.
Why? Why is that limitation there?
I presume it is left over from the Wii U version, and it could only handle to transmit that much data at a time.
Well, it's this tiny Japanese company. They can't be expected.
They can't possibly do all
They're
that.
crushing Microsoft in an arms race with a fucking Android phone that has detachable controllers.
Sir, it is an Android tablet.
Oh, excuse me. My phone's about as big as a Switch. I don't know about that.
Yeah. But no, it was fun. It was nice to pull out Bomberman again, though some asshole kept winning.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Let's do the news.
Uh-huh.
First up, the AARP,
Who we regularly talk about in our news on this show.
which is the something
The American Association of Retired Persons.
Yeah, for people not in America. It's the old people, organization.
It's the
And
olds.
The joke is that when you start getting letters from them, you're officially old.
Yes.
Anyway, the AARP did a study that found 52.4 million Americans over 50 play games at least once a month, but feel overlooked in the industry. What? People not in the 18 to 35 category feeling overlooked in an industry? That was earth-shattering news.
When I first read this report, I was like, yeah, those older people, like my parents' generation, I get that. They've probably been left out. And then it slowly occurred to me, like, 50 is like 10 years away.
Yeah.
I'm the olds, Justin.
Yeah. That's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say. Before you know it, you're the olds. I would be interested to see, I didn't read this study, to see if they differentiated between like traditional games or mobile games.
I did
Because
not notice that.
learning that people over 50 are playing Bejeweled or some match 3 game on their phone, that's not shocking to me. But learning this study about people like playing Xbox, that's not shocking, but a little like, oh, I wouldn't have expected that,
I imagine quite a few 50-year-olds are playing Xbox because 50-year-olds are people who grew up with Atari.
True, but it says over 50, so it's including everyone over 50. So I'm just curious, like the AARP has data on how many octogenarians are like playing, out there like getting their GTX 4090 and playing, Doom Eternal. I want those bits of data. I'm curious.
I'm just imagining a Call of Duty deathmatch where at the end of it, somebody's like, yeah, well, I fucked your grandmother in 1983. That seems like the kind of trash talk olds would do, right?
Who's the silent generation now?
Silent generation's been gone for a little while, man.
Oh, God. Anyway, interesting data.
Yeah.
European and Chinese regulators both approve massive mega merger between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King. The UK regulatory body, the CMA, is that it? CMA?
Yeah.
Every time I hear CMA, I just think Country Music Awards. I can't not, and I'm always like, what does the Country Music Awards keep talking shit about Microsoft's merger? Like, why?
They just really hate it. CMAs hate Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, they probably do. Not shocking here. Honestly, the only shocking thing is that the CMA is blocking it.
Right. And Microsoft did file their official appeal with the CMA. Whether or not that'll do anything is another question. But
Now, do we know if filing an appeal with the CMA is a thing that has been successful before, or is it basically just a gesture they can make to show their discontent? Like,
I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in the field, but what I read
could you
is
pretend to be an expert in the field, please?
Oh, okay. From all of my years of expertise in the field, from what I have read, it is somewhat of a long shot, but not impossible.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Steam and EA are offering a 90-minute trial of the new Dead Space. I'm guessing it did not sell very well.
I guess
so. I can't imagine why people wouldn't trust EA with Dead Space. I can't think of any reasons why people would be upset or distrustful of EA specifically over Dead Space. Can you, Saturn?
I didn't play any of them, so don't ask me. I am happy to see 90-minute trials show up.
Yes.
Because in the past, people always said, oh, well, Steam has a 2-hour trial on every game, because they would just refund games.
But that's not really true.
Yeah, it's not.
And functionally, yes, but,
right. But there's also transaction fees. Every time you do that, even if you aren't charged with the transaction fee, someone is. And maybe Steam is eating that cost for now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually pass that on to developers. And I know that for developers, they are seeing their games purchased and returned and sometimes beaten in that 2-hour window. So I like the idea of these trials instead giving people an alternative, because I'm always a fan of trials before you buy for video games. Always.
I love that a lot of games do like free weekends and stuff on Steam, which I appreciate a lot. Yeah. And like the whole every game is a 2-hour trial because you can return it.
Yeah.
I imagine if you were using that as a rental service, because for people that have never returned a thing on Steam, first of all, you should exercise that. It's your right as a consumer.
Sure.
But also, it's not an automated process. Like, you have to send them a support message, and presumably, I assume it's partially automated, but theoretically, there's a human involved at some point.
Right.
And I assume it's the one person that works at Valve and is also the only developer working on Half-Life 3. It's just this one guy,
Right.
And he's like, I can't work on it because y'all keep fucking returning games, so I'm busy. But presumably, there would be some kind of flag if you were doing it too much. Now, Steam is notorious for, it's nearly impossible to get banned from Steam such that you don't have access to your library.
Right.
It's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
So they have a very complicated process for different account restrictions. I assume that if you were using it like a straight-up rental service, they would start denying or put some weird restrictions on your account.
That said, I did read some comments on this story where people were saying, oh, well, I return 5 to 10 games every year on Steam, and I've never had any pushback.
I probably return about that many. Yeah, for sure. There's sometimes when I'm like, you get in a mood for a game and you think this might be the game, and you buy it and you're like, I don't think it is. Maybe that other one would have fit what I was after right now. I've gone through 2 or 3 games in a row like that before, just like returned a couple of games and finally landed on one.
I don't know that I've ever returned a game on Steam.
I probably returned 5 to 10 for sure. I've returned when I was doing GOG. I returned a bunch of stuff on GOG, and that's a fully manual process. Like, you get an email back from a support person that's like, "Hey, why didn't it work?" And you just be like, "Oh, I didn't like it," or "The installer sucks," or whatever, and then they refund your money. I absolutely return stuff on both platforms. Analog Duo pre-orders went live and are, we think, still available? Maybe?
They are still available. I just
open pre-orders, or
they are still pre-orders available. I'm guessing this system was just so niche that it didn't immediately crash Analog's
Well, plus
servers.
it's been like years since they announced it. Like
True.
any fucking excitement they generated has
Right.
been. We were like, oh yeah, that's like when they announced it. Everyone in the Discord was like, oh yeah, that was a thing they're doing. We all totally
Right.
forgot.
And they in the meantime, since it was announced, the new EverDrive came out that can basically act as an optical drive emulator. So it's hard to be as excited for it as people once were.
Getting original PC Engine hardware with good video out and running the entire platform, including CD, is similarly priced to buying one of these.
Right. Now this does have an arcade
So-
card built into it, which is nice
True.
to not have to separately buy an arcade card. But there's not that many arcade card games.
Yeah, the cost benefit is just kind of not there.
One thing I will give it credit for that is difficult to put together is this has the CD-ROM and arcade card and also Super Graphics functionality.
Yeah,
Which getting
so you
those
can play
two things
all
together,
7 Super Graphics.
all
games.
7 games in the Super Graphics library are at your fingertips. Presumably,
Are any of the Super Graphics games worth even fucking booting up?
Ghouls and Ghosts? That's a good game.
Saturn, I don't know if you know this. Ghouls and Ghosts is available in a lot of places.
Really?
I don't know that I need to play it on my Super Graphics.
Well, if you have a Super Graphics, yes, you do, because you have to justify it.
Right, of course.
Yes.
Pac-Man 99 is being discontinued and removed from Nintendo Switch Online.
That's disappointing.
That's nice. Thanks.
Now, Bandai
So
Namco did
exciting.
say that they were going to put up a separate SKU that you could download from Nintendo Switch eShop that gives you offline functionality for Pac-Man 99 if you want to keep playing it.
Oh, that's really good. That's more than Nintendo has done with any of their fucking shit. So
That way you get the game versus 98 computers.
You know what? I prefer that to playing against people on the internet because people on the internet, I've learned, are way better at video games than I am.
Also, they disconnect if they're losing.
Yeah. Yeah. Mortal Kombat 1 was announced.
Yeah,
it is not
like 30 years ago.
It is not the same game as Mortal Kombat 1993 or Mortal Kombat 2009,
Oh.
but is instead a canonical sequel to Mortal Kombat 11. And I know what you're thinking. Wouldn't that make it Mortal Kombat 12? And the answer is, of course it would. Of course it would. But reboots make more money than sequels.
Yeah,
So-
apparently, I didn't play Mortal Kombat 11 because I lost interest in Mortal Kombat 25 years
the
ago.
like Ultimate Mega version has been on sale on Steam for like $9, and it includes RoboCop. And I'm like, ugh, I'm about to spend $9 just to punch Sub-Zero as RoboCop. But I don't like Mortal Kombat games, so
Right.
I'm on the fence.
But no, apparently at the end of the story of Mortal Kombat 11, Liu Kang becomes a god like Raiden and then resets the universe, but only back to the first Mortal Kombat tournament.
Uh-huh.
And that's where this picks up.
Oh, that's all right then.
Like if you have the ability to reset the universe and you're like, should I undo the Holocaust? No, let's just redo all of Mortal Kombat.
No, I want to fight these fucking people again. These same people I've been fighting for 30 years.
Get Johnny Cage up in here. God.
I don't know, man. I couldn't even
Future
get through
guy
the
would be
trailer.
so disappointed in Liu Kang. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, poor Future man. I couldn't get through the trailer
Oh, it's disgusting.
because the gore was so realistic this time. It honestly upset me. I made it to the scene where they're gouging someone's eyeballs out.
That
and how
was the point where I was like, oh, this is a little too much for me.
I was like, no. Like when Mortal Kombat 9 came out and they did the X-ray bone thing, that was pretty gross, but it was so fucking cartoony.
Yeah.
And it was like Evil Dead kind of gore, where you're like, obviously this is an insane amount of gore.
Yeah.
But it's also so stupid and fun that like, okay.
There's a bit in the trailer that shows somebody getting their throat slit, and it looked just a bit too realistic to me. I was like, no, I don't like that. I don't want that in a video game.
Yeah.
See, what I want is like old Mortal Kombat where you punch someone until 40 femurs fly out of their body.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
That's the
this
level of violence I want.
So yeah, I don't. I mean, I get. Obviously, Mortal Kombat fans are like, we want the most realistic snuff film level gore of
Right,
all
yeah.
time. Otherwise, they wouldn't be. They keep upping the ante. So obviously,
remember
someone
when
somewhere is
Manhunt
like, "I
was
love
like-
this."
You remember when there was such a big stink about Manhunt
Yes.
because it was
Yes,
the
I
most
do.
realistic violence and it was going to destroy our youth, and now we got this shit, and it's put out by Warner Brothers. Like
And-
this isn't like a small video game company. This is a
you
giant
think-
media conglomerate.
Do you think maybe they'll add the Warner Brothers frog to this one, and we can finally?
Just Michigan J. Frog versus Scorpion.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. And they gouge his eyes out. Come on, Warner Brothers. You fucking got this shit in your vault and you're not using
Right.
it.
Isn't that
Xbox.
what Multiverses is?
I guess. I don't know. I don't follow all these weird fighting games. I'm just, I'm boring.
Yeah.
Xbox Game Studios games. Xbox Game Studios games start to appear on GeForce Now in an apparent attempt to appease regulators.
Yeah.
So good. Good.
Right.
You know what? I'll say this. If regulators getting pissy
Yeah.
forces this level of
Openness.
openness,
Yeah.
then good. That is regulation doing its job.
Exactly,
It is,
yeah.
it is forcing a more open, competitive market.
Right. Yeah. I'm
And
okay
I
with
like
this.
that.
Yeah.
Obviously, them just doing it to appease regulators, like, all right, fuck you, but like appeasing regulators. The end result is what we want. If appeasing regulators leads to a more open market with more choices, it has done its job.
Yeah, I didn't see what all games they had listed. I think it was some Bethesda stuff and one Xbox Studios stuff, but I don't remember what game it was. It was something that I wasn't particularly interested in.
Yeah.
But it is still nice to see this stuff available on GeForce Now for people who want it. And I immediately, in one of the comments that I saw on this news article, somebody was like, "You think if Stadia was still alive, Microsoft would be releasing games on that too?"
I don't think they could. I think Google will be like, we don't even know how to do that because we fucked this up so bad that we don't even know how to implement a search function. So how are we supposed to put an Xbox game on it?
Right? Oh man, poor Stadia.
No, not poor Stadia. Stadia dug its own grave, laid in it for months, and went, I guess I'm dying now. Well, everyone went, why don't you just climb out? Just climb out. That's all you have to do. You could easily climb out of the grave and just keep doing. No, I'm dead now. The consumer killed me. Like, what? Fuck off.
Let me rephrase it. Poor Stadia users. Because, man, you should have seen that coming.
Front Mission First PS4 release hinted at by leaked trophy list. Are we still doing PS4 games? This is what we're doing.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of games still coming out on PS4, man.
2023 or so.
Well, they're
right.
fully compatible on PS5, so a lot of
True.
companies, when they're doing their lower end games, are just releasing them on PS4 instead, because then you get a bigger audience.
This is going to blow some people's minds, but it's almost as if this console generation
Wasn't necessary,
wasn't necessary. Yeah, I think that's the words I was looking for.
right?
It's almost like they just wanted to, I don't know, make us spend $500 more on hardware.
Yeah,
But that would be ridiculous.
no, that'd be ridiculous.
That was just insane.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need this highly specialized hardware that's not just an x86 PC
Yeah.
in a fancy popped collar like the PS5. Obviously not.
I've got a disc here for Tactics Ogre Reborn for PlayStation 5. That's a Super Nintendo game on a PS5 disc.
Weird.
Yeah.
Indie developer Brace Yourself, makers of Crypt of the Necro Dancer, has laid off about half of their 43-person staff. So that
depressing.
sucks for those people.
Right. It's like we've been seeing a lot of the big tech companies do layoffs, and now we're seeing the tiny indie developers doing layoffs.
Yeah.
So that's even more worrying to me.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Tetris, the Absolute, the Grandmaster 2 Plus
Uh-huh.
is not only the longest Tetris game name, but it is also coming to PS4 and Switch via Hamster's Arcade Archives series.
Yeah. It may
I've
be
never
the
played.
longest,
I've never played any of the Grandmaster Tetrises. Tetris, Tetrai,
Tetronymous.
Tetronymous. So I'm excited.
I dig on the Grandmaster games. They, I am not good enough to play them competitively because I am a mere mortal, but they're still fun. They scratch a different Tetris itch than a lot of the Tetris games do.
Yeah.
It is much more about speed and precision.
A new 3DS patch has broken the most commonly used hack exploits. Fortunately, Nintendo is dumb,
Yes.
and new exploits were found within a day. Why do you keep trying? Why are you wasting your fucking time and money trying to keep us from preserving your legacy, you
Right.
assholes? Just
the
leave it
part
alone.
That's the part that pisses me off is they discontinued the system. It is
Yes.
You can no longer buy the hardware, and the eShop is closed. You can't even
Yep.
buy the games anymore, and they're trying to stop us from pirating the games. Well, fucking sell them to us, and then
Yeah.
we won't have to pirate them.
Make them available,
Right?
assholes.
Seriously.
Yoshi P implies that future Final Fantasy games may ditch the numbering system, states that Final Fantasy 16 is exclusive to PS5 because Sony gave access to PS5 developers and because the team didn't want to target the Series S. So for people that need that translated, Square Enix doesn't want your money if you didn't buy a PS5.
Correct, yeah.
Now, they want it in a year when it comes out on Xbox.
It sounds like it is not going to come out on Xbox at all at this point.
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah,
Well, we haven't seen
whatever.
Final Fantasy VII Remake on Xbox either.
This is
And that's
true.
a couple years old now.
Year later when it comes out on PC, then
Yeah, that I expect. Now that's the part that I take issue with his statement, because he said that the team got access to developers. I get that. That is important, and apparently Microsoft would not give them access to hardware devs for the Xbox. I get that. That's an important thing. But when they say they didn't want to target the Series S, you're within a year or two. You're going to release a PC version, and it's going to be very scalable. I bet it'll play on the Steam Deck in one way or another. And if it'll play on the Steam Deck, it'll play on the Series S.
here's my issue: is I don't believe him because the truth of it is, Square Enix took a payday to release Final Fantasy 16 exclusively on PS5.
Oh, yeah.
It's console exclusive,
Right.
and they stated that Microsoft just didn't offer them as much money.
Yes.
The real answer is that Microsoft just didn't offer them enough money. If they went to Microsoft and said, hey, we want this much money and access to your devs and we'll give you the exclusivity, Microsoft would have fucking took it. I don't believe for a second they wouldn't have. But they got a relationship with Sony and they wanted to perpetuate that relationship. The real problem here is Square Enix took a payday to release a game that is going to be financially successful no matter what they do.
Right.
To squeeze more money out of this stone before it has even hit the market by restricting consumer access. And it's bullshit and it's stupid and exclusivity is dumb. So whatever.
I am curious about this hint that they're going to ditch the numbering system and never have a 17th game.
I don't even know what that means. I mean, realistically, is there even a point in having numbers at this point? So
No,
like,
there really
sure.
isn't. Like the
You know
first-
what it
first
means
10
though,
games
right?
have a little bit of continuity between them, but everything since 10 has just been a random fucking game every time. So I don't know why it even has the same name.
What this means is that the next one is just going to be called Final Fantasy. Like, you realize that, right, Saturn? Like, you got that? You feel But also, let's remember the kind of titles that Square Enix gives to their other games that don't just have numbers on the end of them.
You mean
So-
like 358 over 2 days?
It's either going to be a math equation or just Final Fantasy. That's my bet. I'm placing my bet now.
Made up words.
Or made up words, like
Yeah.
duodecima.
Well, that's a real word. You picked the real word in that title.
Yeah, if you say so. All these fucking math people telling me it's a real word. I don't have to listen to
I
you.
believe that's Latin.
Whatever.
Yeah, I guess Square Enix is bad about making up words, but at least they didn't make up Revengeance.
Oh, but Revengeance is so stupid and fun. You know, I made fun of the word Revengeance when Metal Gear Solid Revengeance came out.
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Yeah.
But Revengeance is the perfect stupid 80s action movie name to apply to that stupid game.
True.
It's the perfect amount of stupid and fun and ridiculous. It is a good match. I'll give them that much. It is a good match.
I always remember that it's Metal Gear Rising instead of Metal Gear Solid Revengeance, just because the initials of the game spell out Imgur.
That brings us to our topic at hand.
Does it?
It does. It's
Somehow.
This week we're talking Half Minute Hero.
Yes.
which is one of those games that we're going to spend more time talking about than it takes to play the basically most of the entire game.
True, yeah.
So
We've already
that'll
spent
be
more
fun.
time on this episode than it would take to play most of the game.
This was developed by Opus, published by Marvelous and Xseed. PSP version was published in Europe by Rising Star Games. Xbox 360 version was published internationally by Xbox Game Studios. Came out in Japan May 28th of 09, North America October 13th of 09, and European territories February 19th of 2010. That's the original, the PSP version.
Right.
And then, of course, the Xbox 360 and PC versions came out later and had more ridiculous names, such as Half Minute Hero Super Mega Neo Climax.
Yeah, that was the Xbox version.
And the unfortunately named Half Minute Hero Super Mega Neo Climax Ultimate Boy.
You should never have the words climax and boy in your title.
Yeah, this just
throw that out there.
Professional tip for Marvelous
For any-
and Marvelous Xseed.
Yeah, for any future namologists, do not put climax and boy in your title. That's worse than Revengeance.
But thankfully, the game is satire,
Yes.
which is to its credit.
Excellent satire, too.
So let's start with the first encounters. I picked this up on PSP forever ago because PSP was an interesting handheld for me. It came out in high school for me because it was 2005 when the PSP came out. 2006, 5 or 6.
06, but it might have been 05.
So I picked up a PSP and I had played a lot of JRPGs on GBA. That's what got me into the genre. Because before that, I had a GameCube and an N64 as my main systems, and so I just didn't have a lot of exposure to JRPGs. And PSP, by extension, had a ton of really good RPGs on it. So I was kind of going through this RPG phase of my life as in my late teens, early 20s. And I picked this up randomly because it was cheap, it had Xseed on the front, and it looked like a JRPG.
Right.
And I guess it is.
Kind of. It's definitely a take on JRPGs.
And I had a blast with it. I had no idea what I was in for, and I just picked it up randomly and had a good time with it, and just kind of forgot about it. And then you bought me the PC version because I had mentioned, I think in our PSP episode, you bought me the PC version of the game. I didn't even know there was a PC port of Half Minute Hero.
Yeah, it's great.
And you'd got it for me for Christmas or something. I don't remember. And I was like, oh, yeah, this weird game. Why is it talking about boys and climaxes now? But, man, it's still fun.
Yeah. And also the sequel on PSP that never got translated over here was released on PC in the West. So you can play that in English now.
I don't know what it was about this era, this year range of really good satire video games.
Yeah.
But there was a few. So like Half Minute Hero on PSP and like Retro Game Challenge on DS kind of stand as like the pinnacles of video game satire. It's also around the same time that Rocket Slime came out, which was a lot of satire. Just the PSP and DS year range in general was really good for satire video games.
I think part of it is the games, and part of it is also that the localization teams around that time stopped taking themselves so seriously.
Yeah, and it felt like it kind of opened up where it's like, hey, all right, we've got these like hyper serious. Because I think some of it was also coming out of the PS2 generation and into the Xbox 360, PS3 generation. Console RPGs had started taking themselves so seriously that it was almost untenable. You're like, man, I just cannot handle the melodrama.
Right.
And melodrama is one thing, but no awareness either.
Right.
Especially like late PS2 era JRPGs. A lot of those are just, they're taking themselves so seriously.
Aside from Disgaea.
Yeah. So I think maybe this was kind of a little bit, maybe it was a little bit of a backlash to stuff like, Lost Odyssey, being on 360 around this time, which is just like, what a downer of a game. Even Blue Dragon looked like it was going to be satire, and then it came out and it was not.
Right.
It was like, no, it's playing it straight up. And you're like, really? It's not making fun of anything? And it's like, no, not really. It's Yeah, and Final Fantasy had kind of, I felt like around this time, Final Fantasies 12 and 13 had kind of lost their humor.
Oh yeah. There were no Moogles anymore. There was no cutesy character for your party. It was very dry.
Yeah, and it was, so yeah, it's interesting to see how much satire is popping. Anyway, that's my first encounter. I played it on PSP. It was fun. It's good.
Well, mine is similar to yours, just several years later, because I missed a lot of the PSP generation just because I was broke. And so I didn't play a lot of PSP games or DS games for that matter. And so it wasn't until years later after I'd gotten an Xbox 360 and I was just looking through the Xbox Live Arcade, which is what they used to call their eShop essentially, and just seeing what was on there because there was always new weird indie shit on there all the time. And I saw this game on there that looked like a cute little indie RPG parody, and I was like, I'm in for that. I'm down for RPG parody. And just ended up really enjoying it. And I didn't realize it was originally a PSP game till like a year or two later. But it's good. I like it.
Yeah. Tell me about the development of Half Minute Hero. And you have 30 seconds. Go.
Shit. So it was originally a freeware game parodying JRPGs, which is what it is. But it was a freeware game. It was a Flash game in Japan. According to an interview with one of the guys at Xseed, they said that the producer at Marvelous Japan was looking for some new quirky title, and they ran across this Flash game, so they hired the guy that made it, and they appreciated the fact that because the game plays in these short little 30-second intervals, it's the perfect counterpoint to traditional RPGs that are long.
Yeah.
So they really just wanted
especially in this era, they'd gone from 20 to 30 to 40 hours to now all of a sudden they're 60, 70, 80, 90 hours.
100 plus hours with Dragon Quest.
Yeah, and you're like, man, can we dial it back?
Yeah, and that was their whole goal was just take what should be a 30, 40-hour game and cram it into 30 seconds with a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And also they said that they felt that the art style, which on the PSP original version and also on the PC version optionally, is the faux retro art style.
Yes.
They thought that was a huge risk because that was before this whole resurgence of faux pixelated graphics came to light. So they didn't know if people were going to accept that well or if people would think it looked too dated or something. But they took the risk anyway just because they thought it fit with the satire.
Yeah.
And it did. I think it did.
It is weird to hear like this faux retro being a concern, you know, especially these days where like pixel art is on like T-shirts at Walmart now.
Right. Yeah.
But it was that period, and it was that kind of Xbox 360, PS3, PSP, you know, late DS era where it was like, no, games need to be compared to movies now.
Yeah, everything has to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah, and it you know, something which was, you know, started in the previous generation, right? But yeah, it's weird to think about the fact that like that would not be now that's like, yes, please give us these faux and there'll always be like, oh, it's the graphics of a Super Nintendo, and then it has way too much graphical fidelity. You're like, no, it isn't.
Has 100 times as many sprites on screen and also a much deeper color depth. And
yeah, I played Gradius 3. I know the limitations of the Super Nintendo. Okay,
you can put 4 sprites and that's it. You're done.
God forbid you run into a snake-like enemy that's comprised of several different sprites. The game will stop.
Yes.
Let's talk presentation. We already kind of talked on the very charming kind of retro pixel style graphics.
Yes. And the later versions, the 360 version and optionally on the PC version, it has a different art style, which is more cartoony and less pixelaty.
It looks it looks just like the Theatrhythm games.
Yeah, it looks very similar to that kind of
like
style.
Construction paper cutout thing, and I hate it. I not only do I hate the new, you know, in air quotes, art style of the later versions of the game, I can't play the game with it.
Really?
Something about like characters have no outlines. I can't see it. Thankfully, the original graphics are still available, but I do not like
They're available on the PC version, but not on the Xbox 360 version.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you can only play as the new art style, which is how I played through the whole game because I played it on my Xbox. And so I didn't even know the retro graphics were a thing until I found it on the PSP emulator, and I was like, oh, this looks so much better. And I don't hate the new style graphics, but the pixel graphics are so much better.
They are. They're really cute.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack is good. I don't have an ear for music, and these games are so arcadey that I'm just not listening to the music.
I love the soundtrack in this game. There is some great tracks on here, and I was looking it up. The score was composed by this all-star team of people. You have people who previously worked at Capcom and Natsume and Konami and Sega, people who'd worked on Mega Man and Metal Gear Solid and Star Ocean and Ys and Mario Golf. Yuzo Koshiro was one of the people who composed tracks for this game. Just all-star cast of composers. And there's some great tracks in this that are just real earworms and get stuck in my head.
Let's talk story.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. And this is mostly applying to what we are going to consider the, in air quotes, main mode of the game.
Yeah, Hero 30.
Because there are several, and even more later. Yeah. I think some of them were added in later versions of the game.
Kinda.
And they're equally viable. But the one that is unlocked from the start, that is kind of the one most people start with, is the Hero 30 mode.
Yes.
And you have 30 seconds to stop an evil bad guy in some evil castle from destroying the world.
Yes. Because every evil lord everywhere in the world has decided they're going to cast a spell of destruction to end the world, but the spell takes 30 seconds to cast.
And it's structured very much like a JRPG. You're plopped into an overworld. There's towns. You get into random battles. Yep. You buy equipment and recruit helpers as you go through these different towns. People tell you, oh, hey, go to the town to the south, and this person will help you break through these boulders that are blocking your path. Standard JRPG stuff, but it's all level-based.
Yeah.
It all happens in 30 seconds. But when you're in town, the time goddess freezes the timer. And you can go to the time goddess and pay her an amount of money that increases each time you pay her to reset the clock back to 30 seconds.
Right.
So it creates this situation of you going out grinding until you're almost out of town, bouncing back to town, buying restorative items, resetting the clock, going back out grinding more, getting your helper, going to the where the evil lord is, stopping them, and then level complete.
Right.
So it is the full gamut of the JRPG gameplay cycle.
Now, if you play on hard mode, the timer never stops.
Oh, really? I would never play anything on hard mode, but holy shit.
Yeah, if you're in towns or I think even in menus, the timer doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So you just have to rush the entire time no matter what.
So the combat in the game, because obviously you can't really be flipping through menus when you have literally 30 seconds, is automated. So you just go into combat and your character runs right, enemies run left, they smash into each other. You can press a button to restore your health or flee if you're about to lose, but that's it. That's the combat. You're done.
Those are only options.
You get stronger, you get new equipment, but you don't have any control over the combat. It's all automated.
I do appreciate that once you've leveled up to the point where you can defeat the boss, that a giant pop-up shows up that says, you greater than evil.
Yes. Which is also complimentary.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole game. And what I love about it is, one, it has a huge amount of story. Yeah. There are huge blocks of text that are completely just making fun of JRPGs. They wrote a book about JRPGs being stupid, and they put it in this game.
And because they know that the game is so fast-paced and a lot of people are going to be rushing through it, they made it to where the text boxes can go by so quickly that there's no way someone could read it if you're mashing the button.
Yeah.
So they knew you were rushing.
If you press the start button, it skips all the dialogue, but it shows all of it. And after every level, it gives you a credits roll, like you've just beaten a JRPG.
Yeah.
And it's very fun. It's very arcadey. It hits a lot of the same portions of my brain as JRPGs of like, go to this town, talk to this person. Now I can get here. Now go over there. Now I can get that equipment I couldn't afford. Now I'm going to grind a little bit. Now I'm going to reset my clock. Now I'm going to go to the castle. And some of the stories are actually funny. Like a lot of them you just skip, but then every now and then they're just really stupid or goofy.
And there's the one that's fun. Sad.
Yeah.
It'll take you off guard. You finally get to this one story like most of the way through the game where you meet a girl and she's trying to get your help, and then you find out she's secretly one of the demons, and you the only thing you can do is either kill her or run away from her.
Yeah.
And if you kill her, she gets sad and tells you betrayed her. And it's very tragic out of nowhere after all this goofiness.
And some of the later stages you can solve in different ways. One thing this game loves to do is offer you a more difficult path, but it's shorter, or a longer path, which you have to be more strategic with, but it's easier.
But often the longer paths will get you better rewards that make the shorter paths easier later.
True. The game really rewards you for taking the smart road instead of the brute force road.
Right. Yeah.
But it's also a game that seems to really want you to replay it a lot. It's always keeping score. It's very arcadey.
Yeah.
And it's just really, really fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun. It's cute. The only tedious parts you can absolutely skip. And you can play through multiple levels in like 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Just 3 minutes, you know. If you're fast, you can if you're fast, you can do 4 levels in 2 minutes, you know. And the Hero 30 mode on its own is enough to justify the game existing.
Yes.
But it has other modes.
Yeah, a lot of other modes.
And I want to skip the next mode we have listed in the thing because it's my favorite mode. And I want to talk about it last. The next mode I played was the Princess 30.
Okay.
Wherein you play the princess.
Yes.
And in this one, it's like a side... Well, sometimes it's vertical. It's like a shmup.
Kind of,
A bunch of warriors come bursting out of the castle holding the princess on a pillow above them.
Right.
And she's shooting arrows in whatever direction you're pressing the button.
Yes.
So it's basically like a twin stick shmup kind of situation. And as you get hit, the amount of guys carrying you reduces.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the whole game. Yeah. But you can run through these magic carpets that the goddess of time has laid out that extend your timer. So it's all about getting on these carpets, trying not to get hit too much. You get different power-ups. There's these little like fairies that you can pick up that some of them make you go faster. Some of them give you better projectiles because she's firing arrows from a bow.
Yeah. My favorite part about this is that the story of it says that the reason that you only have 30 seconds is because she's on a curfew.
Yes, she has to be back by curfew.
And so whenever you go to the time goddess, you're praying to the time goddess to reset your curfew.
And it's so stupid.
Yes.
It's much stupider than Hero 30. And I think, honestly, I like this mode better than Hero 30 a lot.
I love Hero 30, though.
It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think some of it is it's just less thinky. Like Hero 30, there are times when you really have to strategize. Like you got to be real smart.
Yeah, to get it done in time.
This one's a little dumber. It's just like blast forward, hit the carpets, get the power-ups, grab the sandwich that you're getting for the king because he's hungry or whatever stupid shit, and then go back home. Like that's the whole...
I have to get food for my father, but he only gave me a 30-second curfew to do it.
Yeah, he gave me 30 seconds, and he only wants a sandwich from the floor of the forest 29 seconds away. That's all he wants to eat.
It must be nice to be a royalty.
The third main mode that I want to talk about is Evil Lord 30.
Yes.
And this is my favorite mode.
Yeah.
This is very much an RTS. You play the Evil Lord, and you have 3 different types of minions you can summon.
Correct.
That are mapped to your face buttons.
Yeah.
And it's basically like a rock, paper, scissors thing where, ranged minions are good against melee minions, and then brute minions are good against ranged minions. It's this little triangle.
Right.
And it's just an RTS, so they set up the game. The time goddess is hiding in various barrels around each level, and you run up to her and toss her some coins, and she'll reset your timer.
Yeah.
And
because the Evil Lord can only be outside for 30 seconds.
Yeah, because of the sun.
Right.
And you have this magic circle around you that starts maxed out, and every time you summon someone, it gets a little smaller until it gets all the way down. So if you're mashing the summon minion button, you just start summoning like dud minions that die in one hit. And as you go through the game, your magic circle gets bigger. Anytime you get hit, the maximum size of your magic circle reduces.
Yep.
And so it's just a really fun action RTS.
Yeah.
But the best part is that the whole story is about how sexy the Evil Lord is. And of course, I'm playing on the retro graphics mode, so it's just like this little shitty 16 by 16 garbage pixel man with white hair. But everything's like, oh, my lord, you're so sexy. Your sexiness can defeat the army. And
XC
whenever you
did a brilliant job with the translation of this game, for the record.
And every time you beat a level, it gives you a rating based on your sexiness, which is how good you did in the level. And if you do like really great, it's like beautiful lord.
I wish every game rated me on my sexiness at the end of the game. I'm just saying.
The whole story is a bat that is an umbrella that is in love with the Lord, constantly telling him how sexy he is. That's the whole story.
It's beautiful.
And it's just a really fun kind of action puzzle RTS. I really, really like the Evil Lord 30 mode. Of course I would. I just really like playing evil characters.
That's true. That is your favorite.
It's just so dumb, and the fact that they won't quit talking about how sexy he is makes it even funnier.
Right.
It's a really it's a much more robust mode than Princess 30. Yeah. The levels get pretty extravagant. It reminds me a lot of really this whole game reminds me a lot of Bongayo, a game we talked about recently.
Yeah.
Where it looks like one kind of game,
Right.
but it's really not. It's really an arcade game. You know, Bongayo looks like some sort of mech combat game.
Right.
But it's not. It's basically like a action puzzle game.
Yeah.
This looks like a JRPG, but it's not. It's an arcade game collection.
Right.
The other modes I did not play. Night 30,
Okay.
I didn't unlock the damn thing.
Okay, so it's basically just an action game. It's
Okay.
side-scrolling action, and you're playing as a knight, and you're trying to defend a sage because he has to cast the spell of destruction for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So basically, very, very similar to Princess 30, but
very
more.
similar, yeah,
Okay, yeah,
more
yeah.
actiony. And then Hero 300 is basically Hero 30, but you have 300 seconds, but you can never reset the clock, and there are parts of the map that get locked off every minute, so you can't go there anymore. And so it's a little more strategic than Hero 30, but it's also not all of the same levels, I believe.
Now, we didn't mention this, but this is another interesting thing. In Hero 30, sometimes map things do happen when you're getting close to the timer being up.
Like
So
the force fire.
Yeah, it throws another wrench in you. You know, sometimes like one of the early levels, like one of the towns gets destroyed in the last couple seconds.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh shit, I was gonna go there, and then you have to run to the other town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then and sometimes you can do something to prevent that tragedy from happening, and then reset the timer, but it doesn't reset that tragedy, so you no longer have to worry about that tragedy anymore. You can just keep going.
Yeah.
So it's different. And then you have Hero 3 mode, which is where you have 3 seconds to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, the time goddess is there. She'll reset the timer as many times as you want, but only to 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So you have very little time to do anything.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention, while we're talking about all these different game modes, for Evil Lord 30, Princess 30, and Knight 30, when you're playing the Xbox 360 version or the new graphics mode on PC, they do not play like we described them. They play like Hero 30.
Oh, really?
They are just Hero 30, but with the standard is with the new characters instead.
I was wondering about that because when it starts on the new graphics when you first boot the game up, and I immediately changed it to the other graphics. But as I was playing for the show, I was like, I need to go back to those other graphics just to check them out before we do the show on them. And when I went back, I had different menu options.
Yes, you don't.
And
you don't
I
have
had
things
less
unlocked
stuff
by default, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's just Hero 30 with the different characters, but it's just a single level of it. There's not like a whole campaign there. It's just like, here's one level where you play somebody different.
That's weird. It's like they forgot to finish making the game.
Right. Fortunately, on the PC version, you still have the classic mode. So you just switch back to classic graphics and you can play all these different game modes. But on an Xbox 360, that's not an option. You just have the new graphics mode. So you just have these really condensed versions of Evil Lord, Princess, and Knight. So it's unfortunate that those were cut out. So I didn't really play those on the Xbox 360. Like, I looked at them, I was like, oh, it's just more of this, and went back to Hero 30. It wasn't until like a year ago that I even learned that any of these modes played differently on PC.
There's also, I think, some modes in the Xbox version that are not in the PC version.
If there are, I don't remember unlocking them. So
There's
I
either
did not have
modes
them
or
in our
stages. It's very weird.
There
It's
are
very
some
weird.
stages that are exclusive to the new graphics.
Is that what it
mode.
is? It's stages? Okay.
Yes, there are some stages that were added in to the Xbox and PC releases that are only available in the new graphics mode. So
Yep.
just some extra branching paths for the main Hero 30 story.
Yeah. And that's basically that's the gameplay of the game.
Yeah,
It's
a lot of different gameplay.
It's very much I would describe this game as an arcade collection.
Yeah, it feels like when you're describing it, it feels all over the place. But when
does.
you're playing it, it feels very cohesive despite
Right.
being all over the place.
Well, it's because literally everything in the game is making fun of either JRPGs or anime.
Yeah.
And so it's an arcade collection, but every game in it is like, look how dumb these are. Like, and it's all very, like I say, dumb. It's all very loving, and it's
Yeah.
all a very informed satire.
Right,
Like they
exactly.
know it's Xseed. Like they know their material,
Right.
and it's just really, man. It does feel very cohesive.
Yeah.
Much in the same way that like Retro Game Challenge takes a bunch of random games and makes them feel cohesive.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's talk reception.
Mhm.
Because Famitsu liked this game.
Oh, yeah.
It's as far as I know, it's mostly been well received.
Yeah, the PSP version was generally well received.
Yeah.
Each version of it has gotten a weaker score than the previous
Yes.
one.
It seems like they've been having trouble with the later versions.
Yeah, and the Famitsu gave it a 8988, which is a 33 out of 40. The PC version, the biggest complaints that I was seeing when I was looking at reviews for it were that the controller functionality is awkward because it doesn't
Yes.
just like show Xbox button prompts. It just says like button 2.
For
And-
me, it shows keyboard commands.
Yeah, it'll
And
show
now
keyboard commands.
I'm playing on Steam Deck, so I've mapped it all. It works just fine. But
Right.
yeah, it's not. It's a little wonky.
And it's awkward to change buttons in game to remap your keys.
Yeah.
And it's also awkward to change any settings because it doesn't really have different video modes.
Yeah,
It is-
and
it
this
is-
is something we see a lot with kind of more niche Japanese PC
Right.
games where it's
Yeah.
just like they launch in a window and you just got to figure out how to make it work
Right.
with what you want.
Yeah, and fortunately, when Xseed and later NIS America did the all the ports of like the Ease games and the Legend Heroes games, they actually hired people to make them better ports
Mhm.
to where they actually have all these features that we expect in PC versions. But Falcom was also previously a PC game company, so there
Yeah.
was some source there. But this is very clearly a port of a Xbox game that is a port of a PSP game.
Yeah. I did want to point out it did receive 2 RPG of the Year awards on
Nice.
PSP. And I'd
Nice.
like to point out that it's not really an RPG.
Right? Yeah. It kind of is.
It
You play a role.
I mean, it's just kind of not, you know.
Yeah.
It's so that I find that weird, especially on PSP when there's so many awesome RPGs on
Oh,
the
yeah.
PSP. You know,
Maybe none of them released that year.
yeah. Let's talk Legacy.
Yeah.
Because there is a sequel that I still
Yes.
have not played. When you bought it for me, you bought me the original and the sequel because it's constantly on sale for like $1.
Right.
And I've never played the sequel. It has
the
been on my to-do list, and I've just never gotten around to it.
Yeah. The sequel is called Half Minute Hero: The Second Coming because time.
After you
comes.
climax, you come a second time.
Yeah. After you have your climax, boy. It's more the same.
Cut that.
It's good though. It is more of the same with more brilliant writing. It only has the classic style graphics because they figured out what they were doing.
Right.
It is a more direct port of the PSP game rather than the upgrade that the Xbox version of the original was. And I believe it also has a map editor,
Oh, I
which
see.
is interesting.
That is interesting.
But aside from that, it's more the same. It is also funny. The writing is still great. So
It looks graphically a little nicer.
yeah,
Like it feels like where this feels almost like it's shooting for kind of a not 8-bit but kind of an 8-bit aesthetic.
right.
The sequel looks very Super Nintendo-y.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like a Genesis game with higher color depth feel.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
As far as final thoughts, I highly recommend Half Minute Hero.
Oh, yeah.
It is super fun. It's just a fun arcade game. It is. I would say this is just not an RPG. Like,
Right, yeah.
if someone was ever like, yeah, I was looking for a good RPG and someone recommended Half Minute Hero, I'd be like, you were done wrong then, because it's an arcade collection. It's a blast. It's fun. It's stupid. It's silly. It's a good puzzle. The different modes make it a lot of fun. It's just something you can boot up, play for half an hour, and legitimately get through large swaths of the game.
Right.
And have a good time with a lot of different kinds of gameplay. I highly recommend Half Minute Hero. It's hard not to for the price point it's usually going for.
Yeah, you can get both of them on Steam for $10.
Yeah,
And I mean,
mean,
that's
that's a
on
steal.
sale.
Like, if for the amount of money you're going to pay for them, it's a lot of game. It's very fun. If you like RPGs or you like anime and you want something that's going to poke fun at them, it has that in spades, and it's a blast. And if you just want to be constantly told how sexy you are, then it's one of the few games that will do that repeatedly.
There is an achievement for the second game that is just called Sexy and Sengoku. So you know what you're getting into. Also, it looks like the custom map editor, which I didn't play with at all, lets you upload to Steam Workshop and download from Steam Workshop.
Oh, wow.
So
I
you can
really need to play the
as
sequel
many maps as you want.
I really need to play the sequel. It also has a multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
I need to play
Well, the first game had a multiplayer mode too.
I guess I never realized.
Yeah. I just never
Interesting.
got around to playing it multiplayer because the one time that I tried on my Xbox, I could never find someone else playing it.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, weird.
Anyway, I think we both heartily recommend Half Minute Hero. It is
Yes.
a blast.
Oh, it's so fun.
And you should go check it out.
Yes.
And as soon as you're done with that, you should go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Retro Warriors.
That was a smoother segue than you usually have.
I
just like
set
to
it
say,
up.
I'd like to give you credit for that.
You know what else is smooth? Our Patreon.
You know what else
Patreon.
is sexy? Our patrons.
It's just a fact that we have the sexiest patrons. That's just a fact. I don't know how you would dispute that,
Including these sexy people.
If you like the show, give us money for it.
Yeah.
We work really hard on it, and we would appreciate your financial support. It does mean a lot to us.
We work really hard on it, except for this segment right here. This is kind of off the cuff.
You know what? It occurred to me that the plug section of the show is the only part that we don't have notes for. So if anyone ever wondered what the show would be like without notes, it's this.
Just this.
But for an hour. That's what it would be like.
Weren't we talking about Mega Man?
Anyway, please check out our Patreon. Please rate and review the show. It helps people find us.
Yes.
You can also, I discovered this. You can go to our Patreon and just follow us there. You don't have to give us money or anything, just to see what we're putting out, just to see if it seems like something you would like. We do post the regular main show there as well. So it's just a good place for...
You'll see a bunch of posts that say, this is for patrons only, and then you'll be like, what are they doing in there?
Any content we have gets posted to Patreon. Like, everything goes there.
Right.
So if you just want a good place to follow to see what we're up to, then that's a place to do it. We also have a Discord that we're in literally all day long because we have no social lives.
Yep.
And
It is our social life.
Yeah, it pretty much is at this point. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Anyway, links to everything are in the show description. Also, links to our Redbubble and our Ko-Fi page and everything else if you want to support us.
Link tree. Yeah.
Yeah, all in our link tree. And we want to thank the following sexy patrons for their sexy donations to our show, starting with Dilf Toast Esquire,
Getting us off to a sexy start. And Will and Angie.
Konshu,
Ebucel.
Sean S.,
Michael Winters.
Frank Grimes,
Austin Wheeler.
Blaster Keaton.
And Jordan Ish.
Are all the patrons we want to thank out of order, because for people that are someone's gonna ask, we lost track of where we were in the spreadsheet of patron names.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that last week.
So yeah, I had to reset. It's been reset now, so it'll happen. I promise. We'll get around to it.
Assuming he doesn't mess up the spreadsheet again.
Assuming I don't mess it up again. Anyway, please stay tuned after the ending theme. Our producer Guy is going to be here for the after party, which he's not done in just the longest time.
Right.
And we're very excited to have him for a limited time only. So,
our sexy producer.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Stay tuned after the end credits. And as always, let us cling together. Hi, welcome to the after party with our producer guy, who hopefully is on the line.
You didn't even check.
No, that was me checking. It's
a good check.
Totally a check. How's it going, guy?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Are you sexy?
Trying to be.
Excellent.
How's it going?
This is Saturn doing online dating. Are you sexy? I'm looking for someone who is sexy.
Please rate your sexy. Now
Please tell me you're
single.
Please tell me your sexiness by ratings of score names in Evil Lord 30 mode on Half Minute Hero.
Please rate your sexiness as if you were a review in a GamePro magazine from 1992.
Oh, they already blocked me. Okay.
Please rate yourself from Dragon Quest 2 to Dragon Quest 5 or 8, whatever, whichever the good one is. I don't remember.
5 and 8 are both
Whoa! I think 5 is definitely better than 8.
good. 5 is probably the peak, yeah.
Yeah, 5 was. Man,
Is 2 the worst? I just made that up too.
It's probably the worst, yeah.
Whoa!
So another thing they copied from Final Fantasy. Huh?
It actually was before Final Fantasy.
Oh, was it? Oh, another thing Final Fantasy copied from Dragon Quest. Then
There you go.
Guy, what do you? Hi.
How's it going?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
You just said, what are you high? No.
yeah, I tried.
At the moment, you're not.
What do you got for us?
Well, I got notes. Originally I was going to come in and just like update people on my life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I might do that in a minute, but I got notes. First off, look, you can hear the paper shuffling.
This is so clearing your throat, paper shuffling. I'm waiting for someone to come in and filibuster. This is very intense.
Yeah.
Please change your Discord name to Resident Fuckface.
Which one of us? Both of us? Because we could do that.
I think I was the resident fuckface, so I think it would have been. I don't want to do it right now. I'll wait till the uncut has come out, and then people will get the joke. Because right now they'll just be like, "Oh, buddy, don't be so mean to yourself. That's okay."
Stop dissing yourself.
Okay, yeah.
Next note just says Trivia Murder Party. And I think what that is I picked Trivia Murder Party because that seems to be the only trivia game people like to play. I would rather play a straight trivia game.
Yeah, I like just regular trivia.
I don't dislike Trivia Murder Party. I just don't like it as much as some people seem to.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, my point was that for whatever reason, when a group gets together to play Jackbox, it always seems to go back to that murder trivia thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I
don't know anybody that's like, oh, it's my favorite mode. I love it. It's the funniest. It's just kind of.
I think it's a nice compromise between the people that want to play the goofy "Are you my fucking" or "Is that your fucking cat" games, and like people who want to play trivia games. It's kind of a mishmash of the two.
Right.
Fair.
So nobody's happy.
Right. It's good. It's a good compromise. That's how a compromise works.
Oh man, compromise sucks. I'm too American for compromise.
At least we'll always have "Is this your fucking cat?"
Oh my god, that was so funny. Like that was so funny that when I was putting it together, I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, it was.
You were putting it together, and you'd started laughing, and I was just sitting there like, I cannot wait to find out what Guy is laughing about right now.
Well, and
There's
then
no
the
way
problem
this could
was,
be bad.
I drew the Pikachu, so while I was drawing it, everyone else was done drawing, and I'm sitting there on my phone, unaware of my surroundings,
Context to it.
drawing a penis on a Pikachu and giggling, and I look up, and you're all just waiting on me, and I was like, oh, are you all waiting on me?
Let me ask you this, as the artist of the Pikachu.
Yeah.
Did you draw the penis or the turd first?
I drew the penis first.
Of course.
And then I was like, there's room under his butt and I have time, so I'll stick a turd on there.
Should we share the picture with the Discord or no?
1,000% we should do that.
Honestly, the picture should just be the picture for the release of the episode.
Yeah. I mean, we'll share it once the uncut goes out. Otherwise, people will just think we're psychos.
All right. Once uncut gets posted, then we'll post it in the topic discussion.
Yeah, someone ask about it if you've not. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen it yet, just tell us. Say something.
Yeah.
We'll
I showed
we'll
it.
definitely.
I showed it to my wife as soon as I got home. She didn't laugh near as much as we did.
I showed it to my wife too, and she was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah, that's what I expected." It's just like I married a child, and then I showed it to her, and she's like, "Okay, is that a Pikachu?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she didn't laugh, and I was like, "Oh, I know what'll make it funny." I go, "I drew it." And she was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Oh, I thought that didn't do it, huh?" Okay,
Maybe she didn't see the wiener. You need to go back and point out the wiener.
I did. I pointed out the wiener and the poop, and then I said, "Oh, it's funnier in shirt form. Look, here's the shirt." And it wasn't funnier to her. I don't understand.
I think part of the magic of TKO as a game is the culmination of all of it together. Like the presentation of it, like how you're like anticipating what dumb shirt's going to be next, and then just that appears really makes it funnier than just seeing the image on somebody's phone.
I thought you meant
there was one other one that was like
that, but like
do what?
I thought you meant like the culmination as in like it was all building towards that, which you did. Oh no,
there was another one that was like right because at the end it takes all those shirts that won, and it makes them like pit them against each other. And there's one other one that was like, man, that one's pretty funny too. And I think it was did it have a turtle on it?
I'm looking through all of them now. There is a turtle that says Titty Master on it.
And it was just a regular fucking turtle and it said Titty Master under it.
There's also one that's I think is supposed to be Guy blowing his brains out, and the caption says Taco Tuesday.
That's a good one too. I drew that picture just so everybody that's listening.
That's good. That makes me feel a little
sad,
better,
man. That makes me feel worse.
It's sad. But it
No,
makes
it's
me
not
feel
mean,
less
it's
like someone's
just
attacking you.
I was trying to figure out what I could draw with my finger, and I had purple available, so I knew I could make hair.
I forgot, Justin, that your username when we were playing that was Shart Week.
It's the best week of programming on the Discovery Channel. Shark Week.
Little Shart Week.
All right, and my third note here.
Yes, sir.
I went and reset my router while everything was going on while you were recording because my internet's being shitty.
Yeah.
And I checked it, and on it says, "Hey, you have messages on your router," which is kind of weird, but I figured they were like T-Mobile system messages.
Yeah.
No, man, it says, "Welcome Lopez to the Saltgrass line. We'll let you know when your table's ready." So
your router has that message?
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's got a phone number, right? Because it's on T-Mobile's network.
To it. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So either my router's name is Lopez and wants to go to Saltgrass, or somebody put the wrong number in.
Yeah.
And I mean, Lopez was the robot on like Red versus Blue, so I can't rule that one out.
Right. Yeah. It's
and Saltgrass
and wants to go to Saltgrass.
Saltgrass does have a delicious double bone pork chop. So just putting it out there.
My current laptop, my personal laptop that I'm using, I have a 5G card in it, which means they had to assign a phone number to it. And I also use it to read my text messages from my phone. I just use the Google Messages web app to read my text messages from my phone on there. But because the 5G card also has a phone number assigned, every now and then Windows will push text messages to me that it receives. And sometimes I get them confused with the actual text messages I'm trying to see on my computer, to the point where I just had to disable that functionality because it was all advertisements.
You played yourself, son.
Right? Technology.
That's right.
I wish we had someone to come and give us live notes on the show every episode.
Right?
Nice. Just
to be fair, I can do that.
Yeah.
We don't we don't ever know what we say. I feel bad sometimes because a lot of people show up and they're like, "Hey, I started listening to the show. I really like it, so I've gone back and I'm listening to all your old episodes." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for listening. It's so kind." But then people like come in and they're like, "Oh man, that joke you made in episode 12," and I'm like, "That was a different person made that joke. I was unmarried, no child, living in the city. I have no idea what he said, but trust me, I don't remember it."
I got a private message today from one of our listeners where they were referencing something, and like I'm reading what they're saying. I'm like, man, that reminds me of that time that I worked at GameStop years ago. Then I realized they were referencing that. Like they were referencing it back to me from a story that I told on the show years ago. And I'm like, oh, did I say that on the show? I don't remember. So
I have, like, I mean, there's this. We've been podcasting for over a decade now.
Right.
I've done the maths. We're in our 11th year of podcasting. And that includes every show we've ever done, obviously. You know, because this show's been going for almost 8 years.
Yeah.
And so we're in our 11th year of just generally podcasting. So I have no memory. I mean, none whatsoever. And it has like gotten my body and my brain accustomed to, like, when I say it on the microphone, I never have to think about it again because it's there. It's recorded. It's good.
Someone will know about it.
Yeah, someone will know about it. This can go out of my brain, and it does the instant I say it. I have no, it's gone.
Yeah, it has been 11 years because I remember the very first episode that we recorded of the very first podcast we did. It was me, you, and Andrew around a table at Courtney's apartment, and we were just talking about whatever was on our mind, and I had mentioned that I had just picked up the new Silent Hill game.
Yeah.
And the most recent new Silent Hill game was 11 years ago.
It was 2012 when we started.
So it would have been March or April 2012 when we started, yeah.
I'm surprised you launched a podcast when the world was supposed to end like 6 months later.
Well, you know, we thought, like, if
we
it doesn't...
to record our history of it.
What we thought was the world would end and we wouldn't have to keep doing it. And so here we are 11 years later and we're like, fucking shit.
You're welcome.
We thought we'd be doing it for 6 months and then we'd be exploded somewhere, but no.
We're still fucking doing it.
We're still fucking here.
You're making jokes about Gradius.
Put us out of our misery.
I'm sure there's a not insignificant chunk of like kids who are like 11 now who that also happened to. Right?
Yeah.
Their parents are like, well, the world's going to end, so might as well have a kid.
If someone started listening to our show when they were 10 years old, they would be old enough to drink now.
Well, they'd have had to have started listening to our old show.
Right. If someone started listening to our very first podcast.
Let me just say, if you were listening to our old show when you were 10 years old, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you need to go to therapy.
Right.
I'm just going to put it out there. You probably need help. I'm sorry we fucked you up that
Especially
bad.
if you stayed with us for all this. Because, man.
I would be blown away if anyone has been listening to us since the beginning.
Right.
If you've been listening since the beginning, for the love of God, please reach out.
To your therapist.
But yeah, and then to us, if someone's been like, yeah, I've been listening to you guys for 11 years. Man. Through all your shows, through all your staffing changes, because the cast is, well, I mean, for the last 8 years, it's been pretty static, barring Guy. Yeah. But it was previously all over the place. It was just everyone we knew.
Right. It was me, you, and Andrew for like 6 months, maybe a year. And then I had to cut out for a while, and just everyone joined for a little while there.
Yeah, and we had some big casts. I remember we had some episodes where it was like 7, 8, 10 people. It was huge.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, if you've been listening to us for 11 years, for the love of God, please get in touch, because, like, give you a medal or something. I don't know.
We're sorry about everything we said for those first 33 years.
Yeah. Yeah, also sorry about some of the things we said in the beginning of this show. I want to mention something. Because we've been doing this show
in the housekeeping next episode.
No, we're gonna do it now. Yes, now.
This is clearly Justin's segment. So
yeah, be quiet, guy. I'm speaking now. So just if you could just, I wanted to say that we have changed our vocabularies since we started doing this show 8 years ago. I mean, 8 years ago, 8 years ago, I was a man in my mid-20s. You know, so we have changed as people. We've grown as people. Sure. If you find something in the old shows, old episode, any episode really, that is unsavory,
aside from me calling Justin a fuckface,
aside from that, please reach out and be like, hey, in episode 72 at, 14 minutes, this many seconds, you make this joke or say this, and it's kind of off color, kind of not okay. Please let us know.
Yeah.
Because I've had a couple people very kindly, and you could tell they were nervous to do it, reach out and be like, hey, I know it was 7 years ago, but you made this joke and it's kind of not super okay. And every time I'm like, when and where? Because I'll go remove. That's what I've been doing, is slowly removing these things.
You're future man.
I'm future man, fixing the past. And every time everyone's been like, oh my God, I didn't think you would do that, And I'm like, well, no, those things don't represent who we are now. And we want the show now as our body of work to represent who we are, not who we used to be, right? So I just wanted to put that out there in a random guy segment. Guy, what else you got for us?
I don't know. Keep me around for another episode, and I'll tell you about what happened to me over the past 6 months.
Oh no, that sounds dire.
You say that like you haven't been around me the past 6 months.
You've emerged from a cave, and you're here to tell me what happened to you.
That's right.
You're here to tell us about the shadows you saw on the wall.
Yeah, we can have you on next episode. I mean, you missed like 5 or 6 of your your after party segments, anyways, and I just took this one over, so we might as well.
Well,
I don't know what you expect. I don't know what you expect from me. Okay, this is.
I expect your love and friendship in exchange for my money. Obviously,
fine. You can have it.
You can have one of those things, but not both.
I'll bill you.
$20 an hour per love.
Well,
are these billable hours?
I think so.
No, these are included in the contract, right?
Oh, it's contractually obligated hours. Then we've gone too far. I'm on overtime. So
yeah, we're
guy. Thanks for being on the show.
You're exempt.
No, I don't manage anyone. There's one thing I don't do around here. It's manage anything. I barely manage to get out of bed in the morning. I don't know. I'm supposed to manage other humans.
Yeah.
Guy, thanks for being on. You can be back on next episode if you want. It'd be fun.
All right. Yeah, sounds great.
Nice. Fine. Anyway, thanks for listening to the After Party. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.